Bedtime doesn't always go by the book, especially when your child's on the spectrum. If leaks are still snaking in, Nundy's use pants are here to help. Soft, sensory-friendly, and made to handle mess without the fuss. Plus, get 30% off your first order with the code WITA30 at confidenceclub.com.au.
Hello and welcome to Wine with Wita, the podcast that is dedicated to engaging with health professionals and caregivers in meaningful discussions. I'm your host, Rita Shamoon, or as my clients call me, Wita. I'm a pediatric speech pathologist and I am so excited to have you here. Each week, we deep dive into connecting you with caregivers and healthcare professionals, sharing their insights, stories, and key takeaways to help you with your child's diagnosis and your journey. Whether you are a parent, healthcare professional, a lifetime learner, or simply a wine enthusiast, you're in the right place. So let's sit back and relax and enjoy today's episode. Well, hello everyone. Today on Wine with Wita, I'm joined by someone who brings both expertise and heart to the world of communication. I have speech pathologist Carl Sokkar. Now, Carl has spent over 25 years working with children and families to support their communication, development, and school readiness. Whether he's helping a toddler say their first word or guiding a family through their transition to kindergarten, Carl is a passionate speech pathologist who empowers parents with practical and real-world strategies. Welcome to Wine with Wita, Carl.
Thank you, Rita. It's an absolute honor to be here today.
Now, today we are talking about school readiness. Before we get started, I want to just talk about how I used to work at your wonderful centre based at Westmead in Sydney called the Speech Language Learning Centre. It was the first clinic I worked at right after university, and it taught me so much about client-focused practice and family-centred approach, but most importantly, helping families and focusing on yourself as a clinician. Carl, do you want to talk about Speech Language Learning Centre briefly before we start our discussion today?
Sure, Rita. Firstly, I'd like to say what a joy it is to be on your podcast. It's a real one of those full circle moments in life where you were first a student of mine at Sydney University, and then you're a very respected colleague of mine here at this practice, and then watching you grow as a clinician and then as an incredible mum. And now here you are interviewing me on your podcast.
Yeah.
So it's pretty special and brings a lot of joy to my heart. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah. You're welcome. I love that I invited you on because one of the reasons, Carl, as a student, you taught me such valuable tools to help me my clinical practice. One was particularly called VAC Point. Now,
Yes.
for anyone listening, VAC Point is about visuals, auditory, kinesthetic teaching. And that acronym that code, a VAC Point, really shaped the way that I support school age language clients, especially understanding macro and micro teaching. Now, for parents listening to this is more of a speech pathologist discussion, but it's about supporting everyone's clinical practice and empowering them to provide the best strategies to help our children out or our clients out.
Yes. So yeah, VAC Point is really how to best support children to take in the information via many sensory modalities. Yeah. But yeah, according to you, going back to your first question about the Speech Language Learning Centre, this practice has been here for over 30 years. It's a pretty incredible practice where the two ladies who started it were very well-respected speech pathologists.
They are.
In our profession, right? And
Can we name drop? Let's name drop.
Name drop.
Yeah.
Philippa Greathead and Cheryl Andrews.
Can I just make a point? As a young student speech pathologist and as a young undergrad or new graduate, I felt like they were my mothers in this world of speech pathology, and they guided me with such care, empathy, and support. And in the world of private practice, that's such a rare trait to have. And this is why I speak so highly of Speech Language Learning Centre, because it's not just a fight your own battle clinician type of perspective. It's supporting everyone, because when you support the people who help the kids, the kids get the best practice.
That's so true. That's so true. I just took, we just had a team building weekend, and that was really the philosophy of the weekend. Happier clinicians make the outcomes better for the kids.
Yes.
But interesting, you gave me credit for teaching you VAC point, but it was
Yeah.
Philippa Greathead that taught me that.
Oh.
Yeah, she taught me that. Thanks to Pip, Philippa, we call her Pip. Yeah, I'm the therapist I am today because of Pip and what she taught me. Yeah. So yeah,
Isn't
it's
it
a cool practice.
amazing?
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
and we
That's
all pass it
beautiful.
down, don't we? Like it's
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
paying it forward. And
Yeah.
yeah, the more competent clinicians we can become, the better outcomes our kids have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Carl, the reason I invited you on to Wine with Wita was to talk about school readiness and is my child ready for school from a speech pathology perspective. Now, around October and early in the year, the number one question I get asked, and I'm sure you get asked the same question, is should I send my child to school? And it's like a question, how long is this piece of string, right? And it's
Exactly.
about, from our perspective, understanding where the child is at from a communication perspective, but also understanding what school is about too, which I feel many parents aren't aware of. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I always tell parents, school is not a place for your child to develop or to support their communication disorder. It's a place to teach them the curriculum. And we need, as a speech pathologist, we need to support a child's communication skills to give them the foundation so they can learn in the classroom environment.
That's right. Communication skills, in our opinion, is the foundation for learning, right? So
Absolutely.
without solid communication skills, a child is going to struggle to learn because learning is based on language. Not just language, but that's the fundamental foundation
Yeah.
for learning. Um, and unfortunately, this whole question about is my child ready for school is not a black and white area, is it? It's like it's very nuanced,
Hard. It's
very
hard.
hard. There's so
Yeah.
much to consider, and it's not a checklist we can give parents and say, "Does your child do this?" If so,
Mm.
yes, they're ready. There's a lot of things you have to weigh up and compare and contrast. And as a team, if your child accesses any allied health services or any support, as a team to make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about the letters and them knowing the letters and the sounds. It's, can your child engage? Can your child attend? Can your child have self advocacy skills? Can your child participate in comprehension tasks? It's so much more than knowing your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Now, Carl, I want to ask, what does school readiness mean to you as a speech pathologist?
Is a child going to be able to cope with that structure, that routine, and do they have the necessary skills in all those domains you just mentioned to cope with learning? That's what school readiness means to me. So, like you said, it's not like kids go to that orientation the year before school, and someone checks, can they write their name? Do they know 5 colors? Do they know their shapes? Well, they're important skills. There is so much more to consider. Like you said, if a child can't sit and attend and pay attention, do they have the necessary social skills to engage with other children and cope with that domain? Do they have the adequate language skills to understand what's happening, to understand the instructions, to express themselves, both for academic reasons, learning reasons, and for social reasons? Do they have the emotional maturity to cope?
Big one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest that to
Big
consider.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
some study that says that children who aren't emotionally ready are the ones that have the most struggles.
That struggles, yeah.
Yeah.
You keep saying the word do they. And in my head, I'm thinking of clients who have additional needs, and sometimes they aren't at the level ready for school, but because of their age, they need to go to school and access the curriculum. And many parents listening to this podcast are questioning, because they aren't on paper ready, what can I do for my child? And this is where we have to work really closely with the school and the child's allied
Mhm.
health team to understand what strategies need to be put in place and what support the school can ask for to help the child learn.
Mm. This is an interesting one, Rita, because some children, like you said, appear never to be ready, right? Because they
Yeah,
have
yeah,
additional learning needs, and they're the ones that are going to need support. And we know children with additional learning needs may always, not always will, but may always have additional learning needs.
yeah,
So is it worth holding them back?
yeah.
So there's so much to consider. Like it's such a gray area, and it's something where you have to look at the pros and the cons and see which outweighs the other. So
Mm,
for example, a child with a language disorder, a true developmental language disorder, we know most of them will have
mm.
lifelong language disorder.
Yeah.
So
And there's research that shows that if a child starts school with a language disorder, it is more than likely they'll carry through with that language disorder throughout their schooling and their transitions into other areas into their life.
that's right. And so
Mm.
some people may say, well, then why hold them back if they're always going to have those difficulties? They're not going to catch up before they
Yeah.
start school. That's
Yeah.
correct. But will holding them back reduce the amount of struggle they have those first few years? Will holding them back
Mm.
reduce the emotional turmoil that is experienced because of their
Mm.
language needs?
Yeah.
So will giving them an extra year just create a nicer buffer for them to enter school?
Yeah.
Or look at the
I
other
don't
side. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I don't like the phrase when parents say, "I'm going to hold them back," because that already sets up that negative assumption, right? It's, well, no, you're giving them, and you said this, Carl, you're giving them an extra year to somewhat further strengthen
Yeah,
their communication skills, so their likelihood of experiencing the emotional turmoil is less, so they
exactly.
can actually understand things a little bit better and participate a bit better. So it's not about catching up or
That's right.
or giving
That's right.
letting holding them back, but it's more about giving them more support because of that age gap or the age range.
I want to give you an example. I have a
Mm,
child who could have been held back. He is in year one now.
mm,
He entered school not knowing a single letter name, or may have known a couple of names, but none of the sounds.
mm,
And he has a significant reading impairment, very severe.
mm,
It and he's only in year one, and he's already shut down. He's completely shut down when it comes to literacy. You put anything in front of him that's reading based, he doesn't want a bar of it because he
yeah,
knows how much he struggles. He hates
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Now, I we can say if that child was held back for one extra, not held back, if that child
Sorry,
was
I'm not on your case
no,
about
it's
that.
beautiful. It's a beautiful way to frame it for parents. If I gave my child an extra year of support before he entered school,
Mm,
he may have been, we wouldn't have fixed the problem. That's how
no,
severe this problem is. We would not have fixed it before he got to school. But we
yeah.
may have provided that little buffer where he felt like he can do some of this stuff and he may not have shut down.
Mm,
So we can't fix everything before school, but we can help prepare them, strengthen their resilience to it, their openness to learning, their familiarity with what's coming at them. So all this work that's coming at him trying to learn sounds, none of it makes sense to him. If he
yeah.
was given that extra year of support before going to
Mm,
school, stuff may have started making a bit more sense and he would be
yeah,
more open to learning. And that's
yeah.
what school readiness is. When you asked me before what school readiness,
Mm,
it just came to me now, where a child feels more confident learning to
mm.
learn.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right. But most importantly as well, having the self-advocacy skills to say, I don't know what this means. Can you repeat that for me? I have the
Mhm.
confidence to ask, can you explain that again for me so I can learn what you are teaching me as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Mm.
and like with literacy, it's like another language, right? So, having no understanding of that language, it's just going to go over your head if you don't
Yeah,
have the knowledge of these terms and sounds and things like that.
yeah,
So, yeah, there's so much to consider that I've already
yeah.
forgotten what your question was.
That's okay. I think I love that we're talking about so many points now. Now, this is $1 million topic. If my child is born in March, they'll be turning 5 in March or even in April. I'm going to send them, right? I'll send my child at 4.5. My daughter, Antonia, who you know, she turned 5.5 in kindergarten. Now, in New South Wales, children need to turn 6 in kindergarten. So if your child is born on the 31st of December and they're experiencing challenges, you can still keep them an extra year before you enroll them because they're turning 6 that year. Now, Antonia, her language skills were flourishing and age appropriate, but her emotional maturity was not at the stage where I didn't feel comfortable sending her because I know she would internalize a lot of her struggles and be quite emotional and cry for a lot of her learning, which I know would have impacted her participation. So, the reason why I brought that up, Carl, is what what age do you feel is a nice buffer for children to start school if they don't have difficulties?
I don't think there's an answer to that question again because you
Mm,
have everything. So you're saying if there's no difficulty at
yeah.
all,
And they're turning 5 in March, for example.
if there are no difficulties at all, including emotional regulation,
Mm,
maturity, all the pre-learning stuff, um, I don't see a reason why a child couldn't start
yeah.
school early.
Yeah.
Um, what's one very interesting study that has come out now? I think they just looked at children in general, not children with additional needs. That by the time they hit year 9,
Hmm.
whatever time they started didn't make a difference. So,
Really?
yeah, it was a really interesting study from the
Is that
ACU.
for all kids or
I
special
need
needs
to.
kids?
I only read the abstract, and that's
Oh,
why I need to look at. I don't think, of course, it doesn't
yeah, yeah. I
include
think this is for
us.
typically
I
developing. Yeah.
think it's typically developing children, but I want to know if that cohort of students studied included children with learning difficulty. But it definitely affects the first 3 years.
Of
Um,
their schooling? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
of how well they do in the
Yeah.
first few years.
Which,
So
yeah, yeah.
basically, if you're going to do well, you're going to do well, no matter
Mm, mm,
when,
mm.
no matter when you start. But that's a long time, right? Year 9.
Yeah.
So
Year
why
9, huge.
struggle in the first few years if you don't have to?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, if there are no concerns at all, and you're old enough to go to school, yeah, why not?
Don't send them.
It's the
Interesting.
thing
I
that we
disagree
haven't.
with that. I disagree with that. I say if you can hold your child back, there are so many more elements that your child will benefit from just by being at home or in a childcare setting that extra year because you'll give them so much more than because the reason why I say that is look at a child between 0 to 6 months, how big their development expands, right? So if we give a child an extra 6 months or an extra year, look at that growth, particularly if they
But,
have language and foundation attention skills.
but can that growth happen in kindergarten? This is what we're not also
See
considering.
how we don't know the answer?
That's right. That's why it's
And I
not a
love
black and
this.
white. It's not a black and white question. There's no right or wrong to this. There's so much to consider.
Yeah.
I've had numerous families who have sent their kids to school way too early, especially when there's extra needs. However, it was the right decision because due to that
Yeah.
family's circumstances, they couldn't provide the child with enough stimulation.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I get that.
yeah, there are families due to various reasons and resources and that can't provide a rich learning environment for their child before
Mm.
school. So going to kindergarten, they're getting all that structure, routine, learning from other children, socializing in the playground, more so than they're going to get being at home or going to
At
preschool
home.
one or two
Yeah.
days a week. So that
Yeah.
again, that we have to look at that other side of things where maybe going to school is a better option, even if you're not ready.
Yeah. And this
So can
is
you
why
see
the
how?
importance of working with your team to say,
That's right.
we see him from this communication perspective. Your OT sees it from a regulation and gross motor, fine motor perspective. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a go.
That's right. That's why every child, it's a decision based on that child's circumstances.
Mm,
There's no ticker box. Asking me at what age a child should go, again,
mm,
you can't give that answer. It's there are guidelines, there are frameworks to follow, maybe, or like perhaps between this age and that age. Every child
yeah.
is so different um, that it's not an answer we can just say by
Mm,
this with these sorts of skills they should go. You just
yeah. Yeah.
have to look
Yeah.
at each
Yeah.
child
Yeah. I get
individually.
that. I get that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk milestones.
Hmm.
What we look at from a communication perspective for a 5-year-old, I would say, so parents can understand, yep, my child reaches those milestones. They are more likely to go to school. So with communication, there are several domains. There's receptive language, which is a child's ability to understand. Then there's expressive language, which is a child's ability to put words into sentences and their grammar use. Then there's speech, voice, and so forth. But I think let's just talk about the three: speech, receptive, and expressive language. Let's talk about speech first, because that's the easiest one.
Definitely. So
Yeah,
speech is the easiest because by the time they go to school, they should be able to be understood completely by an
5.
unfamiliar listener. Yeah. So by the
And
time
two
they go to
speech
school,
sounds. Yeah, and two speech sounds that children may have trouble with at that age is Wita, the R to W. So they might have trouble producing R, and they substitute it likely for a W, and also TH. So they might say fing for thing, dat for that. And they are age appropriate errors for a 5-year-old. However, if your child can make those sounds correctly, we strongly encourage you to support their speech production so it doesn't impact their literacy skills, which is a huge one.
exactly. So, like you said, there are a couple of speech sound errors that are typical at that age, and there's no need to consider that when trying to make a decision about should they go to school or not. The biggest thing about speech is, can the child be understood?
By someone
So,
that's not familiar to them.
yeah, so they
Mm,
may still have some speech sound errors that are not typical for their age, but they still may
mm.
be ready for school because it just may be like a lisp.
Yeah.
If they have a lisp, it doesn't really affect someone else understanding them.
Mm,
So there are some speech sound errors that they may have that are no reason to hold them back
mm.
or give them that extra year of support.
Yeah.
Um, so speech, like you said, is the easy one. So the next
Just a
one would
touch
be
base on the speech bit too. The reason why, as us speech pathologists, we strongly encourage for your child to be intelligible, which means have good clarity, it is likely that if your child has speech challenges, those challenges will be seen in the way that they spell. So, for example, if your child says SIP, SIP for ship, and they're trying to spell the word ship, they may likely spell the word as SIP. So we don't want their speech production to impact their learning ability to learn to spell, which can have a ripple effect on later on.
That's right. And like you
Yeah.
said, even the errors that are age typical when starting school, like the TH and the R, they
Mm.
still need to be very closely monitored because they're likely to affect the spelling,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah. That's a big one.
And and in general, speech skills affect learning to read as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It does. It does. Wonderful. Next one. Let's go with receptive language. And the reason why I've left this to the end because it's so ambiguous. It's not a clear cut for every child. So this is just a guide for what we believe is needed for a child at 5 years of age. Receptive is a child's ability to understand. language. Let's go with following directions. So being able to understand, I would say for a 5-year-old is about a 2-part direction. Yeah.
At minimum, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Can you give an example of a 2-parter?
well, if you're going to think about the school setting, why it's important to be able to follow instructions, well, the teacher's always giving instructions. So a 2-part instruction can be 2-part simple or 2-part complex. So thinking of a 2-part simple is just get your bag, put your bag down, then sit on the mat, then come sit on the mat. That's a 2-part simple. A 2-part complex would be before you put your bag down,
Get your book.
go get your book from your desk. Okay, so there's again, there's simple, there's complex, and should they be able to understand simple? Should they be able to understand complex?
Yeah.
There's a lot for parents to think about, but generally, a parent should think about how does my child go about following instructions? Can they follow routine instructions quite well?
Yeah.
And do they understand some of the important words in an instruction, like before and after, or prepositions, in,
Or
on,
even the
under,
doing word. Yeah.
the verb, of course, yeah. In, on, under, next to, like prepositions are used all the time in school.
One key red flag, I would say, if your child's having trouble following directions is, firstly, do they follow it accurately? And secondly, how many times do you have to repeat it for your child to follow the task?
That's
A
right.
big one. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You
is
feel
it
like you need to
attention?
repeat it all the time. Is it attention too? It's quite
Yeah,
complex. I know I've been doing this for so long, but when I'm actually talking about it, I'm like, wow, it's not black and white, is it?
yeah, that's right. And especially the WH questions,
Yeah.
they're crucial for learning. Who, what, where, when, and how, even though that's,
Why?
yeah. Um, so can my child understand WH questions when asked, but can they also use them to ask questions? Because we need to ask questions to learn.
Can they understand it in a conversation aspect, which will then help them understand it when you're reading a story to them?
Exactly. And do they have enough attention to sit and listen to a story? Can they follow the story? Do they recall bits of information from the story?
Yeah.
So receptive language is huge, and it's very difficult often to separate receptive language from expressive language because they go hand in hand. But generally, how does my child go with following instructions, understanding questions, even understanding non-verbal stuff?
Really? How so?
Yeah. Oh, understanding body language, facial cues.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's all
Things like
important
that.
for social
Yeah.
skills. Yeah. So if a child's really struggling understanding that side of things, it's something to consider. How are they going to cope with social interactions and making new friends and coping in the playground? Yes, I
There's
really
lots.
feel for parents, Rita.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so much to consider. And thankfully, 8 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 children, fine.
Fine. Yeah.
It's those 2 out of 10, and they're the ones we work with, and they're the ones
They're the
that
ones we
we're,
work with. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
On average, 2 out of 10 need some extra support,
Yeah.
and they're the ones we need to support families to help them make a decision.
And starting early
Yeah,
with therapy before. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Now, expressive language, that's bigger than I think than receptive because it's quite detailed. The first part is, does your child use a range of words to express themselves? So we call that vocabulary.
yes.
There's no specific amount of number. Like I guess we talk about vocabulary range when the child's younger, but by school, they should have lots and lots and lots of words to put in their sentences and
I think I read
complex.
somewhere like it's 2,000 or something, but who's going to
I don't
count?
expect parents to sit there counting. Yes, my child's got 2,000 words.
I don't know, a minimum of 2,000 words by the time they're 4. Like it's who would know?
Who's
But
got the
yes,
time?
generally, what's their vocabulary like?
Yeah.
Is it obvious that they struggle to learn new words?
Yeah.
Is their vocabulary very limited for their age?
When you said, Carl, sorry to interrupt you. When you said, is it obvious for when my child learns new words? What signs can a parent look out for?
That you've tried to teach them a word and they keep
Yeah.
forgetting it.
They keep
Like
forgetting it.
yeah, like you, for example, a new toy that has come into the house,
Yeah.
and you've given them the name of that toy, and it
Mm.
just takes a very long time to learn a new word.
Mm.
So we know
Mm-hmm.
children with developmental language difficulties or disorder. Ah, I forgot the statistic. Do you remember the statistic? They
No,
need to hear it. They need to hear it so many more. And
Oh,
it's just,
okay. Yes, yes, yes. They need to hear a word over 20 times, I recall.
it
It's
was.
a it's
I
a
think it
larger
was
number.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was more.
basically,
Yeah,
they need to
yeah.
hear it so many more times than a
And it's
child who
not
doesn't
like
have
you
language
saying the
difficulties.
word mouse, mouse, mouse all the time. They need to hear the word in different contexts, such as I use this mouse to navigate the screen. This is a black mouse. The mouse is on the table. So you have to teach a child the word in a number of ways for them to understand it. But then
That's
they
right.
might just still call it computer thingy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So you, a parent, and what we haven't said yet is trust your intuition as parents.
Yes.
Generally,
Always.
parents know if a child is ready or not.
Yeah.
Generally, so and a parent will know if my child has difficulty learning new
Yeah.
words. They can
You
pick up
see
on.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always said to the parents to trust their intuition. Like they ask me my
Mm.
opinion, I ask them theirs first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Team
yeah. So
approach. Always.
yeah, like is my child ready for school? What do you think? Tell me
Mm.
what you feel, and then we work with that.
Yeah.
So your question about how would a parent know if a child has difficulty learning new words? They've picked up on it generally.
Yeah. And also
Uh,
asking daycare.
of course, yeah,
Yeah, they would know as well, especially in that kind of teaching environment.
yeah,
So we
and
spoke about vocab. Yeah. Do you
mhm.
want to continue? Expressive language?
vocab, and then we've got grammar. Grammar
Yes.
at word level and grammar at sentence level. And grammar at word level, I mean, like, can they put past tense on the end of a word? Can they add a plural? What are their pronouns like? Do they know how to use the difference between he, she, they? So, in general, a child, although their language is not complex yet, their grammar should be pretty correct for their
Yeah.
level,
For the
right? So
level.
they should, yeah, for entering school, you should have general, basic
Mm.
plurals, regular past tense where you know how to add ed. You should have,
Pronouns.
yeah, and even the irregular past tense where the word
Yeah.
changes, like I am running, I
Um,
ran,
what's the other one that kids say? I broked. No,
I
it's just
broke.
broke.
Yeah, but some of them are age appropriate, so
Yeah.
they don't need to have them all, but a general understanding that there is some irregular
Yeah.
past tense. So that's just grammar.
Yeah.
And then in terms of sentences, a kid should be able to speak in sentences accurately by the time they start school. And the sentences can be getting quite complex where they're using
Mm.
conjunctions. The easiest conjunction is and to join two sentences
Hmm.
together. But even conjunctions such as if, but, so, before, after, a child entering school should be able to use them competently.
Yeah. And because.
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
One element I want to talk about with sentences is sequencing.
Mm,
Children explaining an event. So if they went to the park, first I went on the slide, then we had ice cream, last we ran on the road. So it's about the child understanding the sequence of events that occurred so they can verbalize the event when they need to have like a recount in front of their peers when the teacher asks them, tell us about what you did on the weekend, or even with a procedure, how do we complete this task? Or first I did this, then I did this. So those concepts are so important for, I believe, school as well.
absolutely. A child should be able to understand sequencing and then be able to express it, like you said. Of course, it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be extremely complex at the school starting age, but a
Mm.
general gist of something happening first, next, and last, and being
Yeah.
able to talk like that, talk about a beginning, a middle, and an end. So a lot of learning is based on sequencing, like you said. Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of the macro structure work, so all the text, like a story, a recount, they're always, every kindergarten class starts with telling news, The news could be about an object. If you're going to tell news about an object, you sort of introduce it, then you say something about it. So there's a sequence of telling information,
Yeah.
writing a recount about your weekend. There's an introduction, then you give the three or so events that happened, and then you finish with something. So everything at school has a sequence, and the child,
Yeah.
should be able to talk
Oh,
in
yeah.
in sequence, before starting school. That's really important.
I want to go back to the vocabulary part. We spoke about knowing a lot of words, but most importantly, kids need to know a variety of words. It's not only about nouns or verbs, it's actually also about adjective use and prepositions. Children need to use lots of different words in their talking at school, which will most importantly help their writing. Let's talk about that link, Carl.
Yeah, absolutely. Look,
But that's really
vocab
important.
vocabulary, I feel, in our field is the one of the most obvious fundamental language skills, yet one of the most overlooked.
Yes,
I don't know if you
agree.
feel that. Yeah.
We don't. I feel goals they're not discussed enough at school. But with parents, I encourage them to talk about different type of words. And the reason why I say this, Carl, with the word small or little, in kindergarten, a child might use the word small. But then as they progress through their schooling, the expectation of them to use a different type of word, right? Let's talk about miniature, tiny, because as they get older, their expectations on their vocabulary use needs to flourish as well.
Yeah, vocabulary is so important. It's like we said, it's the fundamental of all language, understanding and expression. And
Yeah.
the reason why it's overlooked, Rita, for me, this is just an opinion, is because it's so vast. Where do you start,
Mm.
right? And where do you finish? But
You don't finish, you just keep
yeah,
teaching.
I'm still learning new words all the time. I love new words. My team thinks I'm such a geek because I love learning new words. Um, So, yeah, encouraging parents and anyone who works with a child to always um, have at the forefront of their work words like, can I
Yeah.
introduce a new word in this play? Can I introduce a new word in this context? Because they are the foundation of learning to
Yeah.
understand what you're reading, learning to understand what a teacher's talking about, being able to express stuff. So, children who have strong vocabulary generally do better at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going off that quote you said, children have stronger vocabulary. Now let's talk about how parents can support their child's communication so we can make them stronger communicators and learners in the school environment. I want to go first. Let's talk about reading.
Oh, yeah.
Reading is your child's superpower. Not specifically reading themselves, but you joint reading with your child and actually having fun with the words and the vocabulary that you are reading with your child. Now, if you see a word, let's talk about spot, because every child reads spot. Spot is running at the park. We can say, wow, Big Spot is running at the green park. And by you having fun, you are showing your child you are using different range of words, but also teach them that they can use those words in those sentences too.
Absolutely. Look, shared book reading
I love
is,
book reading.
yeah, and it's becoming a forgotten sort of activity, isn't it? That we all
Yeah.
grew up we all grew up with because of technology. And I think what I would love parents to hear from this is nothing can substitute, no piece of technology can
Yeah.
substitute shared book reading.
Yeah.
We know that language learning happens at a greater level when there's a didactic context.
Yeah.
So when you're learning from technology, a child is just listening. That's not
Hmm.
didactic. Didactic means to and fro with
Back and forth.
someone
Yeah.
else, back and forth. So language is developed at a greater rate and a lot more
Mm.
powerfully when it's didactic. And shared book reading should be didactic as well. So, yes,
Yeah.
it's nice to read to your child so they hear it, but also getting your child involved in that experience so that there's toing and froing about what's being read. That's one of the most powerful ways to learn new words.
Yeah. When I read with my girls, I don't actually read. They're much older, my daughters, but when my daughters were younger, I would hold the book myself and somewhat give them that joint experience with mummy's turn. Now it's your turn. You try reading the book to me. And
Yeah.
it's going that back and forth. Even though we're not necessarily talking about the words on the picture, on the page, we are having a discussion and we're
Yeah.
enjoying that moment where we're discussing a whole different range of words and we're exploring ideas. And that in itself is such a powerful communication tool to help your child learn.
That's right. So a book, you can do many things with the one book.
Mm.
You can read to your child. You can
Mm.
then follow their lead and ask them to read the book to you. Basically,
Mm.
talk about the
Talk
pictures.
about the pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use just the pictures and just have question and answer time. There's so much you can do with one book, and there's no one way is the right way. A mix of
Mm.
all these sort of approaches or activities
Yeah.
within the book is the best way.
Yeah. And
But
what I want parents to know too is in that moment, you are not only targeting your child's vocabulary, you are targeting their speech sound production because they're hearing different ways sounds are made, as well as they're hearing how you are producing big sentences. And I encourage a lot of parents, don't hold back. Don't have the fear that if the word is too big, your child won't learn. If you show them how a word is taught or how a word is used, for example, they will learn that too. And I had this discussion with a mum the other day. Her child has a communication delay and a developmental delay. She has this fear that if she uses a vast or a bigger range of words, it's going to impact her child's learning. And it's not. It's actually going to support his learning because if we keep it small, your child's vocab is going to be small, right?
that's
But
right.
if you show him that you can use a different range of words, they're going to learn that too.
There's a theory out there called like the complexity approach.
Yeah.
We use it with speech, and you can also use it with language intervention.
Do you want to give parents and even speeches listening to this the insight into the complexity approach?
Yeah. So, for example, exactly what you said. So instead of going just at their level, what they need to learn, you
Mm.
go slightly higher. They may need to hear it more, but the learning effect is greater.
Yeah. Love
So
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
That's
so
awesome.
again, not too high because it then you're going to miss the mark totally. So it's just not at their level, just above their level, so that the learning effect is greater.
Yeah. So reading is amazing. Clearly that's our favorite. What's another strategy parents can use to support their child's communication before they start school?
Rita, I think you're better at all these than I
I'll,
am, but
I'll go.
definitely.
I want to talk about this idea that social media and every mum's group says spend time with your children, play with your children. Yeah. I'm a speech therapist who I encourage play, but I'm also a mum to three daughters and it's busy. I can hand on heart say I do not play enough or did not play enough with my children. However, I felt like I had to reframe what play meant to me.
Mm,
Play didn't mean having tea parties with my children. I found moments of connection with my kids, whether that's we're folding the washing together, whether that's pretending to iron next to mummy, or even cooking a meal. I used my busy mum moments and made that a moment of play and connection with my children because I haven't got the time to sit there and build blocks with my kids, but I took my negative moment, if that's what we want to call it, or my mishap, and used my motherly duties as a way to connect with my kids. And in turn, it flourished their communication skills. So
that
that's
is one of
so
the
yeah,
greatest gifts you could give parents is show
yeah,
them ways that they are actually supporting their children without
yeah,
adding extra work and
yeah.
time to their busy schedules.
And I
So,
blame social media for that, right?
in
That
what
you
way?
see all these influencers walking around going, "Yeah, I'm doing this with," like, come on, let's be real. It's all staged. It's all staged for the marketing. Can we just give parents grace to say, you're busy and I respect that because I'm in the same boat. However, let's use those moments you can to help your child out.
Yeah, absolutely. And showing them in your current routine, tell me your routine with your child, and then brainstorming with them how can they apply these strategies into their already very
Yeah.
busy routine without adding
Yeah.
anything extra. That's great, especially things like bath time.
Yes. Bath time, showers,
Bath time is
shopping.
all, shopping, all the words you can learn with shopping.
Shopping's huge.
Feeding, dinner time, everything is
What else is there? I'm
language.
just trying to think, what have I done with my kids in the past?
Think about anything in your daily routine.
Washing. I think I said washing about 5 times.
Language is the world we live in. Everything is
Yeah.
about language. So if we just apply, and I love what you said, Rita, so much. I mean, to the point it gave me goosebumps.
Oh,
Using that time of connection.
yeah.
And basically that means you have a bit of intention with every
Mm.
interaction. That's
Yeah.
very hard to do with every interaction, right?
Yeah.
Because we're busy people, we go into automatic pilot. But coming back to what are my child's needs here? What intention can I have for this moment? And rather than making it, you need to eat, can I also add, well, what language can I add to this experience
Yeah.
so that not only am I feeding you, but I'm also here connected with you, like you said.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that, and those moments of connection is where profound learning happens
It
as well.
does, because it's so genuine, right? And it's authentic, and you learn in those moments.
Yes, because you're
Yeah.
engaged.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's think of connection as I've got my child engaged in this very moment. When my child's engaged, their ability to learn is far greater, far,
Yeah.
far greater.
Yeah. Another strategy I want to mention is routines. Getting your child ready to school, using the same language every day to get them ready for the routine expected for school. So, first, brush your teeth, then pack away your pajamas. Next, come downstairs, have breakfast. Last, pack your lunchbox. So, if you keep that language consistent and using those sequence words, it will support a child to know without you screaming at 8 o'clock in the morning, they know that happened this morning, Carl. They know what is expected of them
Yeah,
without you constantly telling them when they need to go to school.
yeah, and and in that instance, also learning the language that's associated with that routine. While
Yes.
you were talking, I had this idea that we haven't mentioned by bilingualism, because
Oh, tell me.
many of your listeners would be bilingual,
Yeah.
and it's very natural for bilingual parents to mix their languages. So, just on that note, encouraging parents of bilingual children not to mix their languages within the one context,
Yeah.
especially if a child is trying to learn new language. If a child
Yeah.
is very competent, no, it's not going to harm. We all
Yeah.
grew up, you and I grew up in bilingual
Yeah.
families
Yeah.
where they didn't know you're not meant to mix
No.
their languages, and our language developed
I
fine.
just remembered my mum the other day. She put a few Arabic words in with her English words, and like she could see she struggled to explain something. But I have good language to understand what she meant. But can you imagine a little child? Mum, you've
Yeah,
just said this and you said this. I don't understand. Yes, it does
yeah,
cause that confusion. However, I do want to put it, and you know this, Carl, speaking another language does not cause a language delay.
mhm,
Yeah, we want to stress that, but do keep them separate because speaking two languages is actually great for your kids. They learn at different ways, words could be used, and it
that's
supports
right.
their language development too.
That's right. So by not mixing your languages, that looks like if you're having a bath today, the bath be in one language.
Yeah,
If you're serving breakfast, that time at breakfast, keep one language. So you're allowed to
yeah,
mix the languages in the day, but if you're
just in
doing
the environment.
something, yeah. So if it's an activity, keep that activity in one language. The next activity could be a different language, but
Yeah,
you're just not mixing it within the language, within the activity.
yeah, yeah. Carl, this has been a phenomenal discussion. I feel we both agree there's no one clear answer is if your child is ready. However, it's looking at your child, listening to your gut, understanding, is my child ready? And if your child isn't, accessing the services to help support your child's development and transition into school. Uh, if you are concerned, please do reach out to a speech pathologist who can complete an assessment and guide you as a parent. Carl, before we finish, what's your thoughts on school readiness programs?
Oh, okay. I think many
Because
of
there's
them,
so many. The reason why I say that
many
there's
can
so
be great.
many, and many parents think, oh, my child just has to participate in a 5-week school readiness program and they're ready.
Yeah,
I don't like that because that term ready is so abstract.
it
However,
helps.
they are useful at the same time.
Yeah, it can help. Which brings me to something I was going to say that we've forgotten to mention.
Mm.
Um, it's the importance of learning letter sounds before
Yes.
going to school much more than letter names. Letter names are important, but what often happens is, yeah, my child knows the names of all the letters. They can say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It is so much more important for children to try and learn the letter sounds that the
Yeah.
letters make than learning their names before going to school. If
Mm-hmm.
parents can support that, and they don't have to know all of them before starting school, but they have to get a general sense that these letters
Mm.
make a sound.
Yeah.
And the more of the letters they know the sounds for, the bigger head start they have for learning to read when they go to school. So playing and learning what we call phonics and phonological awareness
Yeah.
skills, playing with those, so such as clapping out the beats in words,
Yeah. Nursery rhymes.
nursery
Yeah.
rhymes, knowing that dog starts with D. Now,
Playing
what's the
I
first thing?
Spy.
Yeah,
I
all
Spy
those
with
sorts of
even
skills.
I Spy with my little eye, something that starts with the sound, not the
Yes,
letter.
not the letter.
Yeah.
That's right. Something that
Mm.
starts with D versus something that starts with D.
D.
It's
Yeah.
excellent. So, back to your question about the school readiness programs, many of them are great. And I've often hear we get children who go to one that's nearby and they've got a
I know
nice head.
which one.
Yes.
Yes.
um, we
Great
often,
center.
yeah, and they often have a great head start with their early literacy skills.
Mm.
So, like you said, just because they've gone to one doesn't mean they're ready. I've had children come to me for therapy who've had 2 years of these school readiness programs
Mm.
and they're still not ready
Not
for
ready.
school. When I
Yeah.
say not ready, they need extra support, a lot
Yeah.
more, and specialized support
Yeah.
that I was hoping would have come earlier.
Yeah. I want to talk on that, like the literacy bit. With my girls, I use the program Reading Eggs. Like we want to sometimes have respite with screen time. So I picked resources where they can learn from. And I
Beautiful.
felt Reading Eggs was such a wonderful resource that my kids could learn those early sounds and also syllabification and alliteration with the way sounds are, which then help them with their early reading skills, which is what we call phonological awareness. So if you're looking for a resource to supplement, not as a solution, but to
That's right.
give that screen time, I always recommend Reading Eggs as a lovely resource that parents can access.
Yeah, there are a number of them now, and
Mm.
some better than others. And but like you said, if you're going to use screen time,
Yeah.
why not throw in something that's great for their pre-literacy
Yeah.
skills and early literacy skills?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl, this has been a wonderful discussion. I have loved it, and we can keep chatting, 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 chatting. But the main points that we've stressed: follow your gut. You know if your child's ready or not. Don't feel consumed by the noise. And when I say noise, people telling you should go, you do what is best for your child because it's their ability to learn in the school environment is mostly important. And reach out for services if you need. Everyone's here to help. Carl,
Yeah.
I would love to credit Speech Language Learning Centre, and I'll include it in the show notes as well for anyone that wants to see you or visit your centre. It's located at Westmead. But yeah, Carl, sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just going to say, and the biggest one is make it a team decision. Use
Yeah,
the people in the child's life to help you decide to make the right decision.
yeah,
But it's been
exactly.
an absolute honor, Rita. I've
I
thoroughly
love
enjoyed this
it. I
conversation.
love it. Before we finish up, I'm sure you've heard this on my podcast when you've listened. um, if you were to be a better version of yourself tomorrow, Carl, what word would you apply to yourself today?
Oh, look, my one's always connection.
Oh, love it.
It's
Love
always
it.
connection. The more connected I can get with myself and others, the better version of myself I always become.
100%. Love it. And as a parent, when you connect to yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, you pull all that positive energy back into your family and to your external environment too. Agree, Carl. Connection. Love it. For everyone else, if you'd love to reach Carl, I'll put his clinic details in the show notes and their Instagram handle. But it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Carl. And let's continue to support the kids, our clients, to be better communicators and learning. And for everybody else, another episode of Wine with Wita will be brought to your ears next week. Take care, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Wine with Wita. I hope you found some new inspiration, learnt something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you please leave a 5-star review, as it really helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it takes 5 seconds. If you're keen for more strategies and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow RS Speech Pathology.